So today is day 220 and we have 145 days to go. This is the Bible in 1 year, and we're looking at Ezra chapter 7 and 8. We'll also be looking at Proverbs 20, 28 to 30 and 1 Corinthians chapter 4. So if you're joining me for the first time, welcome. This podcast is about reading the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. And every single day we follow a structured reading guide from this particular reading guide where we look at an Old Testament, a New Testament, a Psalm, and a Proverb. And every single day we follow, of course, chronologically, we follow each of these portions. The idea is that at the end of the year, December 31st, we'll have covered through the Bible in 1 year. So I chose to do this because I wanted to know God for myself some more, read the stories in the Bible myself, draw my own conclusions, make my own interpretations, hopefully spirit-led interpretations, test the philosophies and principles that are out there, discard what is no longer serving. Yes, I do believe that there are some, and also find help for just basic daily life issues. I didn't want to do this quietly because I've done it before, and I remember thinking of how transformative it was, and I wish I shared it where I was doing it along with people. So I thought doing it this time along with an audience would be great. That way I'm not the only one sharing and thinking about what I've read. And an audience will also keep me accountable because it's so easy to just get derailed. Like I mean, I've missed a few days, and every time I miss, I think, oh, I must catch up because there's someone out there who is watching, whose this podcast is their own Bible for now. The idea is that if you're curious about the Bible, or you want to just know what the basic stories in the Bible are, if you follow this podcast, you get a hand, you'll be abreast with what's going on, and then you'll be maybe curious enough to go read it yourself. And that's why I leave the scriptures that we read in the description box below. From every now and then I get people join me live. Most of the time, I think I just had a few episodes where people haven't quite joined me live, but let's get to it now. Okay, so we have made great progress and we are coming to the end of Ezra gradually. And if you remember yesterday, King Darius decided to help the Jews build their temple. And he said, look, we're going to give you everything you need. Just build the temple. No one should interrupt them. Well, I think that there was a cap. I see you guys there. Say hello. I think there was a cap. This is what I'm understanding now from reading this thing, that when they say God is with a people, if God is angry, then bad things start to happen. But when God is pleased, then good things start to happen. So I keep thinking that maybe my country, Nigeria, maybe God is displeased. I don't know, because there's a lot going wrong in my country. There's a lot going, the security, this is not about my country. But from reading the scriptures, hi, thank you for the hearts, the loves, and everything. I see you guys. Say something in the comments. So I'm thinking, based on my interpretation of what I am reading, it seemed like anytime God was angry and turned away, stuff would start to go wrong. But when he felt a change of heart and looked at them, stuff started to go right. So yesterday Darius helped them, and today ArtaXerxes also showed up for them. So let me just quickly tell you how that happened. So later on, during King ArtaXerxes of Persia, during the time of ArtaXerxes of Persia, there was a gentleman known as Ezra. He was a direct descendant of Aaron, the original Aaron. That means that he was from the line of priesthood, and he was a scribe and was very familiar and well versed in the book, in the laws of Moses. Please like and subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to turn on the button to know when next I go live. I would love to get your feedback on the stories that we read and your comments when you read the scriptures that I put in the description box. But thank you for the hearts. I'm grateful. I love them. So Ezra returned. Ezra was a returnee from Babylon, and the king had kind of liked him. So the king had given him everything he wanted. Ezra, it looks like you want to go back, right? I heard that some stuff is going on back in Jerusalem. You want to go? You want to leave? All right, fine. You go. You can have everything you want. You can take as much as you want. You can take silver, gold. I'll have us give you some stuff. I'll even return some of the things that King Nebuchadnezzar took from you. So Ezra was grateful and God was with him. So that saying God was with him meant that Ezra kind of like people now wanted to help him. So I think that when the Bible says God is with someone, there's a way people respond to you. Not really about maybe you are good or bad, just basically that God is with you, and so people begin to respond to you differently. Anyway, so Ezra returns and the king gave him everything he wanted because God was with him. Singers, Levites, priests, all of them came back to Jerusalem with him. And he left in August and arrived in April. And God kept him because Ezra really, that's what's written here, really wanted to study and obey the law and also teach its decrees and regulations. So the King ArtaXerxes, wrote to him saying a similar thing that Darius said yesterday's episode. He said, go back to Jerusalem since you want to go. Take all you want, gold, silver, and here are these things. He gave them 7,500 tons of silver. That's a lot. 500 bushels of wheat, 550 gallons of olive oil, and then unlimited salt, unlimited amount. And you know that salt was a big trading, like people would move and migrate because they were looking for salt, right? It was a real major cash transaction back in the day. Anyway, so when you get back there, use all these things, sort out Judah and use your discretion. So this is king in his letter to Ezra, saying, at your discretion, present free will. Out of these things we've given you, present free will offerings to God. We can't risk God's anger on our people anymore. So somehow the fear of God had come upon the heathen kings that were not Jewish kings, and they were like, we don't want people's trouble, just take all of these things, we'll return what we took. We've seen that maybe there's the God that Israel's worship, there's something about him and we don't want his trouble. And I wrote here in my book, God, we don't want God's anger on our people, I beg. If you are Nigerian, you know what I mean. I beg. If you say I beg, it's like pleading and supplication. When you say I beg, it's like, please, excuse me, Nigerian slangs. Anyway, so no Levite, priest, singer, or gatekeeper, or temple servant needed to pay any more tribute. So that was the king telling him, please don't worry, all the people that will serve in the temple, don't tax them more. We don't want to tax anybody. They don't need to pay tributes anymore. They don't need to pay custom charges or any other type of tax. Then use your discretion, appoint magistrates and judges to govern the place according to God's laws. And anybody who is disobedient will be banned, punished, imprisoned, or even put to death if it calls for it. Ezra was like, wow, just like that. And Ezra praised God. He was like, man, you have demonstrated such unfailing love towards us, and your encouragement and gracious hand, and he packed all the things that he was given and left for Jerusalem with a long list of returnees, because now he had all that he needed. And so Israel journeyed back. However, they observed that as they were coming back, no Levite had volunteered to follow them. So he had to request for some Levites to attend to them. And a man called Sherebiah, along with 18 sons and brothers, came. And many others followed afterwards. And so a huge, huge number of people were coming in from Babylon back to Jerusalem. And that's where Ezra's chapter 7 and 8 to verse 20 end. Alright, so with that 8 chapters, 8:20. Okay, so Proverbs, that's our Old Testament reading. So our New Testament reading, Proverbs chapters 20 verses 28 to 30. Oh, I'm so happy, I can't wait for us to finish this. Mercy and truth preserve the king, and by loving kindness he upholds his throne. The glory of young men is their strength, and the splendor of old men is their gray head. I'm starting to gray. I'm thinking, is that my splendor? Blows that hurt cleanse away evil, and as do stripes the inner depth, of the heart. I've decided not to really give any insight or explanation to the books of Psalms and Proverbs because it will take too much of our time. Let's quickly hop into our New Testament. We're looking at chapters 4. 1 Corinthians chapters 4, and we'll be done in a few. We're record time. We're doing well with the time. So Paul is still addressing the Gentiles. You know that Paul spent a lot of the time at Rome addressing the Jews in Rome. But at this point, he had planted churches in many different places and was beginning to deal with Gentile issues. If you look at the book of Romans, there were so many deep spiritual things: Moses, cups, sacrifices, blood, offerings, altars, and things like that. But when it comes to Corinthians, it's just dealing with like administrative, and order. So let me just read what he says here. He says, so we should all be regarded as servants of Christ, entrusted with secret things. And the requirement to be a servant of Christ is to be a faithful person. Then he goes on to say, I don't care if I'm judged, whether by you or whether by a court. Heck, I don't even judge myself. Only God can judge me. Only God can judge me. So my conscience is clear, even though I am not innocent. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? My conscience is clear even though I am not innocent. I think it means that I know that I'm guilty, but you see, when it comes to these matters of God, I'm doing this with a pure heart. I do not care what I did in the past. You guys can judge me. I don't care. I don't even judge myself. That's what Paul is saying here. And he says, even though I'm not innocent, only God can judge me. And I wrote here Tupac. Who knows how many of you remember Tupac, an old, well, he's been gone many years now. I think almost 20, almost 30 years. I was about 17 when Tupac and Biggie had their issue. So if you are like a millennial, or you were born just before the millennials, you'd know Tupac and Biggie and all the drama. Yes, so you know that song, only God can judge me, only God can judge me now. Only God can judge me, only God. Anyway, so Paul says here that only God, I'm waiting for God to judge me. Okay, so let's wait until God comes. He'll bring light into the darkness that we are dealing with. There are some areas that I know that I don't have answers to. God will bring the answers to it, and he will expose everyone's motives. See, my motives are clean. That's what Paul is saying, because at this point, there was now all these divisions in the church. People following Apollos, people following Paul, people following Paul, people following Peter. People even say, I don't follow anybody, just Jesus, just Jesus. So he was saying God will expose everyone's motives. I'm not the one here. See, and then he went on to explain that I've used Apollos and I as examples so that you may learn what it means not to go beyond the book, the Bible, not to go beyond what is written. At this point, I don't know what they're following. At this point, because what we are reading now as the Bible is the stories of what happened back then. So what were they reading back then? Is it Paul's breaking down of the Torah? Or was it Paul breaking down conduct, just saying, okay, these are the things that I believe are conduct, and so they were using that? What were they really reading then as the Bible? And that begs for an answer, right? Anyway, he says, don't take pride. So then if you know that if you just stick to what is written, then you won't take pride in one man over another. I think that Paul is secretly very competitive. I think he's secretly very cool. Because I can just sense in reading this that, maybe somebody criticizes Paul, he's like, well, you guys are judging me. Well, you're not supposed to be judging me. And so he's arguing why nobody is better than him and he's not better than anybody. If you go like 2-3 episodes back, you will see where he even said, I cannot even build on another man's work. I'm like, what does that mean? I wonder what that meant and why he said that. Anyway, he said, after all, what makes you different? What makes you different? What do you even have that you were not given? And if you were given, so why are you acting up? Why are you bragging? What's up? What's all this? So I feel like Paul at that time, because of his missionary journeys, was no longer, I don't know if it was ever